if creating offers was as easy as focusing on your unique gifts, strengths, and talents? Well, that's what happens when you start to apply your human design chart into your business. You can create offers that literally sell like hotcakes. Hey, I'm Elise Cartwright, online business coach and creative strategist, and I have been integrating and implementing human design in my business since 2020. And I've been helping my members integrate it into their own business since 2022. And I cannot wait to chat to you about today's video. So in this video, I want to chat to you about how you can take your human design chart and literally use it to create offers, and not just random offers, offers that are aligned for you and offers that your audience cannot wait to get their hands on. Ready? Let's dive in. So, step one, let's look to the things that are literally easy and fun for you. The things that come naturally. I'm all about not having to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to have to worry about having to do things that I don't actually know how to do, because that's always the first step. Always teach what you know. Always teach, always create based on your personal experience. So let's try a little exercise. What I want you to do is write down all the things that come naturally to you, all the things that are easy, like all the things that you do. And sometimes this means whatever it is that you're doing in your job, but whatever it is that you just do that are easy, right? You don't have to think about it. And write down the things that you just do. And this might be a little hard, so sometimes you might have to ask the people closest to you to be able to point that out for you. But write down literally all the things. So what skills, what are the different components that you do every single day that are just totally your jam, that you could literally, if you were blindfolded, do it without needing to see what you're doing. Those are the starting points for figuring out where we're going to create our offers. One thing I do want to say is don't discount anything that you don't have a special degree in, right? I'm really speaking to the 2-4s out there. We tend to be what is classed as a natural genius. We tend to just have something that we do or that we know that we don't have a degree in. We have not gone and learned it or anything like that. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that as a 2-4 that you could go off and be a doctor and start practicing without getting the degree, but you probably know a whole bunch of stuff that you probably should have gone to school to learn. Those are the things that I want you to write down. So regardless of whether you're a 2-4 or not, it doesn't matter. What I'm highlighting is that you don't need to have like this special degree to be able to know the things that you know. What comes easy to you? That's the only question that we're looking to answer here. Technology has always come easy to me, and I have zero training or degrees in the tech space. I'm just able to figure out most software, most technology by simply playing around with it. That's kind of my jam. I don't need to go and read a textbook, but if I had to, I could, because I would have tinkered around, I'd have an idea of something, then all I would have to do is go and have a quick read of something and it would be all set to go. It's why I can do a lot of the stuff in my business. It's why I've built my own website, literally do all the things, but that's because that is easy for me. You don't need to do that. What is that thing that you just do? The other thing that you can kind of think about is, what are the things that people just ask you for support for, right? What is it that your clients and customers continue to ask you for help with? Or what is it that people come to you for advice on? Those are the types of things that you want to put on that list. And this is why you'll see me do a load of tech walkthroughs inside my membership, because I can also, based on the gate that's in my defined throat, really uncomplicate things, really get down to the things that are just really simple. So breaking things down. So that's something else that you can do, which we're going to talk about in a second. Which leads me to step 2 is looking at your defined centers. So if you've got your human design chart up in front of you, you're looking at the centers that are colored in. Those are your defined centers. And this is where you can start to see your natural gifts based on the theme of each of those centers. And if you don't have it yet, I do recommend filling out the Story of You worksheet. This worksheet is basically going to help you nut down all the things. So taking your chart and turning it into something that makes sense for you. Now, if you want to get hands on that, let me know and I will drop a link to where you can find that. But the Story of You worksheet is basically where you fill in everything about you through your lens. And what I mean by that is when you go and start learning about the different centers and then you start learning about the different gates, when you learn about them, when you read what they are, I'm pretty sure that you're going to find that that is true for you. You're going to sit there and go, yeah, I do that, right? When I've discovered that gate in my throat center that is all about uncomplicating things, I sat there and went, yeah, you know what? I do that. I don't even think about it. And that's the thing. You don't need to think about it when you have it defined. It's just there. So when you are looking at your defined centers, understand the individual theme that is for that center, and you'll start to see where you kind of just naturally lean when you are helping people. So when you're looking at your defined centers, and particularly if you use the Story of You worksheet, you're going to start to understand where your offers may come from. Now, as you're going through and doing any of the exercises that we're talking about in this video, you're likely going to be just like, yeah, I already do that. But it's quite different when you start to write it down because it brings it to your awareness. And that's what we're trying to do here. When it comes to creating offers, particularly if you feel like you're kind of stuck, the exercises in this video will help you get unstuck and help you unlock the different ways that you can bring offers to life. So go ahead, write down all those defined centers, write down what each of those themes are, then compare that with the things that are easy and fun for you right now. I'm pretty sure you're going to see some cross-pollination between why those things are easy and fun for you and your defined centers. So once you've done that, the next step, and we're at step 3, is to also look at your open centers. So these are the centers in your chart that are white. Now there's an open center and there's an undefined center. So an open center is a center that is white with some gates defined. An undefined center is one that is white with no gates defined. So when you're looking at your open centers, what you're looking for here is the theme for each open center and understanding that this is where you have a flexibility in that energy. Now that center is only going to activate when you are in the presence of someone who has that center defined. Now, if you do happen to have some active gates in an open center, then those gates will come to life. They're always there, but they will just be more accessible. And so when that happens, you have a little bit more flexibility in the way that you choose to use that energy. And it's always about doing things in alignment, so following strategy and authority. But when you look at your open centers, and this is also where you have the most opportunity for growth. So maybe you have already experienced that. So for example, if you have an open spleen, this is the center for fear, survival, trauma. Now, if you have experienced a lot of trauma in your life, but you've been able to move through it and you've successfully come out the other side, then you're already equipped to support others who potentially have an open spleen center or just are struggling and they're all in the fear or they're in survival mode. That's a really clear indicator that you're someone that can really help that person because you understand where they're at. So when you're looking at your open centers, that's kind of the way that you want to approach that is. is the theme of the center something that I have experienced in my life and overcome? Now I can really speak to that. And again, that is always going to bubble back up to all the things that you wrote down in step 1. What are the things that are easy and fun for you? And what are the things that you have experience in, right? Because that's the key. How can you really talk about something if you haven't actually experienced it? So go ahead, look at your open center, same deal what we just did in step 2, but now you're paying attention to the theme of your open centers and then just kind of running it through. Have I experienced anything? Is there something that I've been able to learn and implement that has allowed me to really master the theme of this particular center, particularly the not self theme? So go ahead and jot all of that stuff down too. Here is another example. I have an open heart center. So not an open heart, but an open heart center. And that is the center for self-worth. And when it comes to business, you kind of need to know and value your time and setting hourly rates, those types of things. But when I first started my business, I did not have that, and I undervalued myself a lot, and I charged really low rates. And that led to resentment because I'm doing work, but I'm barely getting paid for it. But we're the only ones that get to decide that. So I had a lot of issues around feeling worthy, really valuing myself in my business. I had no problem when I was working for somebody else because your value has already been determined because you show up, you do the job, and you get paid. But when you're working for yourself, it's a very different thing to step into. So I had to learn to master that. I had to figure that out. And I have, right? It doesn't mean that I don't have those feelings of unworthy, but I know how to deal with them. And now when it comes to pricing, I will 100% put down the price that I believe is the best price, and I get behind it. I'm 100% behind it. I'm super excited about whatever pricing I choose because I've learned how to master going through that. And so now I get to use my open heart center in that flexible way. So now I choose the type of pricing that aligns following my strategy and authority, because at the end of the day, that's what it always comes back to. So we've been talking about strategy a little bit. I keep saying, at the end of the day, it comes back to your strategy. So let's talk about your strategy, right? Step 4, strategy. So each individual type has its own strategy, its own unique way of literally bringing things to life, of engaging with the world. So here's a reminder on what that might look like for you based on your type. So as a manifestor, your strategy is to inform. So you don't need to wait to bring anything to life. Follow your creative urges. However, before you launch that thing, make sure you inform your audience. Give them a heads up. Bring them along for the ride. They love behind the scenes, particularly when you're in your element, right? When you're in that creative urge, share the excitement, and you will find that when you go to sell your thing, it's going to be infinitely easier. But you can also use your informing to actually get a beat on where your audience is at. So that can give you ideas for creating your offers. So if you happen to be a generator, then your strategy is to respond, and that is to respond to everything externally. So not here to just go off whatever is going on up here, right? We have to be responding to something external. So when it comes to creating an offer, your first step is to ask yourself the question, what am I responding to? And you can literally be responding to anything. So pay attention. And I do encourage you to, at the end of every single day, ask yourself that question. What am I responding to? Where am I seeing things in the world that prompt an idea, right? Because that's how this works. You're responding, then you get the idea, and then you drop down into your gut and you're like, am I excited about this thing? And then you follow that creation process. Creating in response is key. So if you happen to be a manifesting generator, our strategy is also to respond and inform, right? So we do both. We are sacral beings first, so we still always need to create in response. That's the first step. We need to be responding to something external, and then our unique way of creating that thing comes into play. However, informing is really important. So the more that you let your audience in on what it is that you're planning to create and bring to life, the more that you're going to have something to respond to. And this is why for manifesting generators in particular, I really love doing the pre-selling process. So you don't actually create something, you pre-sell it first, and then that gives you the green light to actually go ahead and do the thing. Really, really good. So same deal, you need to respond first, but you can also inform to also get a beat on whether your audience is also on board and whether you need to tweak and refine your messaging. So if you happen to be a projector, then your strategy is to wait to be invited. You can create all the offers whenever you want. You don't need to wait. However, you're not here to market them, right? You can't just do a launch. What you're here to do is to create the offers based on what you see, and then simply share from a space of knowledge, insight, wisdom. Show your audience that you are the expert that they have been waiting for, and then optimize. And what I mean by that is make sure that you don't make it difficult for someone to find how they work with you. So create your offers, optimize your profiles, but don't need to sell. Just share insights, knowledge, and wisdom. Be visible, show up for your audience, and they will invite you until the cows come home. So if you happen to be my beautiful reflectors, your strategy is to wait a full lunar cycle, which is typically 28 to 29 days. Now that can feel extremely slow when it comes to business, but here's the thing. You are going to transition through all the different centers in that lunar cycle. And that's why it tends to be a slower process for you to bring something new to life, right? When I'm not talking about existing offers, I'm talking about something new. And that's because you need to taste and experience lots of different things in order for you to really get to that point where you're just like, yes, this is now the time. So don't worry about needing to rush. You're not here to move fast. You can, right? Particularly if you have a center defined when the transits are happening, but don't rush yourself just because somebody else is like, oh my gosh, you still haven't done that thing, which is why it's important. Surround yourself with people who understand your way of doing things and allow you to kind of talk through things, because the process of tasting and experience things is how you get to the certainty that the thing that you want to bring to life is actually ready to be brought to life. That's the reflector way, and no amount of pushing is going to do this any faster for you, because you will lead to burnout very, very quickly. So by now you should have a really large list of all of the different offers that you might want to create. You might also find that some of the offers that you actually have no longer align, and that's okay, right? At the end of the day, there is nothing that you do, particularly when it comes to running an online business, that is set in stone. We can change our minds. We can tweak things. The biggest thing to be mindful of always is to always let your audience know whatever you're doing, right? So if you are making changes to an existing offer, just let them know, right? Don't do things without letting your audience know what's going on. And at the end of the day, this is always about following your strategy and authority, aka what's easy and fun for you. Don't go off and do things just because your head is literally saying this is the thing that you need to do, because your head is not the one that's in control. Your strategy and authority are there for a reason. It's your unique way of bringing things to life. If you do that, then selling, it literally takes care of itself, because you're doing things in alignment. The more that you do things in alignment, the more that your business becomes so easy and fun and super aligned with just the natural way that you want to be doing things. So bottom line, do what feels easy and fun for you. So now that you've got an endless idea of offers that you're going to create, in the next video, I want to take you through how you can then create content using your human design chart. And we're going to be using that content to attract your ideal customers, and we're going to optimize it for your offers. I'll see you there.